I'm Heather.
And I'm Desiree.
And you're listening to
the Perpetually Overdue Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Perpetually Overdue Podcast. I'm Desiree.
And I'm Heather.
And this week, we are going to discuss something that is very close to our hearts because it is our very essence and it is a struggle. And that is pursuing creative ventures as neurodivergence. So we both have various neurodivergence of our own. Some are similar. As many of you know, if you are neurodivergent yourself, even two people carrying the same diagnosis can still have vastly different experiences. One of the things that we have noticed throughout the years, and thankfully we're a little more gentle with ourselves now that we understand how we're neurodivergent, because when we were younger, we didn't know and we're wondering why the fuck we couldn't actually stick to anything and execute it to completion. It just was something we struggled with time and time again. And as creative people, that is one of the most detrimental tortures, because you have so much within you that you want to express. Because if you're a creative person, you know how much creative expression is such a huge part of not just who you are, but even health-wise, you need to let that out. You can't keep that in. And obviously, we are also two women of color who have mothers who are entrepreneurial, and they did a lot of things to pursue and survive and thrive. So naturally, not only do we take our creativity, we want to do something with it and create a career out of it, create opportunities through it. But that's really hard to do when your brain is a little spicy and unpredictable. Right, Heather?
Yeah, it really is. I want to preface by saying that it's not that Desiree and I have never accomplished anything. I think that Desiree and I have worked really well when we are in a very structured and not our own structure, an outside structure. I have a bachelor's in English. That is something that I accomplished, even though my brain is always like, that's not enough. Any typical 9-to-5 job that we've ever done, we've always excelled at. That isn't the issue. The issue is when there is no outside structure, when there is no sort of like accountability that is pushing you, when you're basically your own boss and the captain of your own fate. That's when the ship goes down. Yeah, exactly. As a neurodivergent who is not properly medicated, but is, for me at least, on the path to figuring out medications that are going to help me.
Same. I have a slew of doctor appointments.
Same.
On the ready, blood work, all the things. Because unfortunately, with my neurodivergence, I also have chronic health issues with my body. So I'm trying to get everything to work together nicely so that we can do the things that we desire to do, that are very much a part of who I am and things I want to pursue. And it's just been a little harder because, like Heather says, we both have had jobs, and I've always been complimented on my work ethic. Sometimes to a detriment, I will give myself to something full-hearted. So that's never the issue, like Heather said, because it's once you have that structure, the structure really is helpful. But when you are a creative and you kind of are going the freelance route and you're trying to pursue these creative ventures on the side, your brain kind of starts playing tricks on you. And it's like, well, there's no urgency. We can do this in the course of 5 years when it can be done in 2 months.
Let's just say that there's a graveyard of unfulfilled plans and ideas that Desiree and I have had. A film company. We have had many scripts, film scripts for short films, plays, different things like that. We have had many business ideas. We've even had a previous podcast, all of which are scattered. The bones are scattered in this graveyard behind us. And that's just what we've done together.
Yeah.
There are so many more things that we as individuals have not been able to follow through on. It was a huge source of shame for, I think, both of us for many, many years, feeling like, why can't I just complete something? Why is it that when I am at work and I have a task to do, I can do that? ABC, follow the steps, all of that. But when I'm at home and I'm staring in front of a blank screen and I'm trying to write something, or I'm trying to, do something simple like keep a planner or a journal or something like that, it feels impossible.
God, it's
so frustrating.
It is. And then especially because, like, for me, I joined various creative YouTube communities throughout the years, and it is very difficult not to get in your head when you see someone you've been following for like 5, 10+ years accomplishing time and time again something you're still in the beginning process of. People, for example, publishing books and things like that. And I've been following them for maybe like 10 years, and some of them weren't even writing books, but somehow, like in the last few years, we're like, I just published a book, and I'm like, mother effer.
Oh man, try being married to somebody like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Nick is a constant reminder for me of the things that I'm not doing.
That is hard. As I sit in my little hole here and just pretend that it's not as bad as I think it is for my sanity's sake, I create this fake bubble of reality here. And it's easier because no one in my outside life can challenge that like you have.
Yeah. And I know what it's like to be in that position. Even when I had a roommate, I could go into my room. I could just close myself off from everybody else. I didn't let people know anything that I was doing because I knew myself well enough to know that there was a chance I wasn't going to see it through. And then even when it came to freelance writing for me professionally, when I had clients, I was doing everything at the last goddamn second, but I did it. I met deadlines. And when I was ghostwriting novellas for other people, I was meeting those deadlines too, to a degree, because I mean, there was a little bit of a learning curve for me. I'd never written like a full-length novella. This person wanted 40,000 words. So the top range of word count for novellas. And I got the story done in 20,000 words. And I was like, anything else is fluff. But they really wanted that word count. So I said, okay. So that first book was a struggle, but then after that, it got easier and easier and easier, especially the more and more familiar I became with these characters. I always thought that having negative consequences is what motivated me. The fear of disappointing, the fear of getting in trouble for missing deadlines, potentially getting fired from a job. But then I realized, no. As much as I would like to think that, because I was always like the last minuter, whether it was studying for a test, whether it was writing a paper, and I was always good at it. I did well doing everything at the last minute. That's how I got through school. I studied at the last minute. I did assignments at the last minute, and I was on the dean's list many times. But I also had been fired from a job before. My very first job ever. It was partly because of my neurodivergence. That term didn't even exist when I had that job. And I was so unfamiliar with why my brain reacted in certain ways. The panic of calling in to say, hey, I'm not coming into work today. That's why I got fired. I got fired because I no call, no showed. Because the anxiety of picking up the phone. And I just thought, that's normal for everybody. Why can't I just overcome it? But it's not normal for everybody. Not everybody feels that way. And so there were a lot of things that I had to learn slowly throughout the years. And I'm still learning about myself when it comes to my neurodivergence.
Yeah, it's wild looking back. I think that was one of the most difficult parts about not knowing that you're neurodivergent and what that entails, and experiencing life and trying to do life as a neurotypical, but not realizing that you're not. No. And so every time you've quote unquote failed to do something as efficient as the neurotypical person, the amount of shame and guilt that literally felt like a sludge all over your body. But then the worst part is that while you're covered in that thick sludge that you barely can move in, you still have to appear on the outside by masking, another term we didn't know about many years
Yeah.
ago. You still have to appear like you have it all together. It was wild recent years hearing Heather think I had my shit together when we were younger,
I really did.
not realizing I lived in perpetual anxiety-ridden panic. And worse was because the more and more I had to pretend I had my shit together, the more and more I panicked because I realized how much I don't. But I had
Yeah.
to really keep pretending. I was on stage a lot doing various creative ventures, and looking back now at literally the panic attacks I would have. I mean, there was one time when a lead singer tried to bring me up to take the mic and sing by myself. I was usually in the chorus. I will never forget this moment. And I inside was going through sheer panic, and my voice I couldn't say. I kept cracking, which then insinuated more of a panic because now I was failing in front of everyone. And I just remember my body, my brain, everything just fell because eventually I gave up and she kindly let me go back. But that moment was horrifying. So not only was I feeling mortified, I had to go back to the chorus and still sing like nothing just happened. So then I remember after it was all over, I went to a corner and I just felt like I wanted to die. and I remember this one person, this guy who was older, came up to me. He was just like, "You're okay. Like, don't feel this way." And he was really trying to make me feel comfortable. And I think of all those moments like that. I had so many, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't take control. My autonomy felt like it was taken from me in those moments. And I couldn't understand why. I knew logically what needed to be done, but it was like I couldn't get my brain and my body to do the thing. There was like definitely like an electrical shortage happening, but not understanding that at the time, it's really torture because again, you don't realize you're just built differently, and society, especially back then, I'm talking 20 years ago, society didn't have any concept of this.
Yeah.
So there was no understanding, anyone kind of like pinpointing why maybe you were struggling.
No, not at all. With Desiree and I think wherever you fall on the spectrum of neurodivergence also really depends on what your experience as a neurodivergent person is, because everybody looked as being neurotypical. Nobody was like, "Are you a little autistic? Or do you have ADHD?" Especially because ADHD for forever was being diagnosed based on male symptoms, which it manifests differently in women. I may not be bouncing off the walls, or my mind doesn't feel like it's constantly racing, at least to me. But I also have lived with this brain my whole life. So do I know what it's like to have a different thought pattern, maybe more quiet in my brain going on? I think my brain's pretty normal in that regard. But then there's executive dysfunction, task paralysis. Those are things that I experience at a very high level. And then there's all of the fun TikTok, Instagram things of like, if you do this, you might be. I remember the one for me that I was like, oh, damn. Because it's such a part of who I am, which is when somebody tells me a story, I give them back one of my own stories to show how I relate to that. I didn't know this, but to a neurotypical person, that appears as you trying to take attention off of them and put it onto yourself. And I was like, no, I'm just trying to say, hey, I understand you. I relate to this. Like, I get how you feel. So with that, and the reason I bring this up is instead of fighting who I am and trying to be more neurotypical or masking, I just decided to preface it by saying things like, I totally understand how you're feeling. I have a situation where I felt very similarly. And then by the end of that story, trying to bring it back to them and the attention back on them. So they know that I'm not trying to take the attention and put it on myself. I'm just trying to relate to them. And that really helped me go, okay, the best thing to do in this situation isn't to fight it and try to change my brain. The only thing that can do that is medication, and I'm not currently on medication. But to embrace it and try to work with it as much as I can. So let's talk obstacles, more specifically external obstacles, because we've heard a lot about how the brain works with people with ADHD or autism or any type of neurodivergence. And so I feel like that topic is really like universal. We can all relate to a lot of the things that our brain does, the executive dysfunction, the task paralysis. But the environment, I don't think people talk enough about your environment and how much it actually matters to whether or not a neurodivergent person can be successful in their creative pursuits. So a prime example for me is I need to have an entire atmosphere, maybe. An ambiance, if you will. I mean, my brain functions off of the serotonin that it doesn't naturally produce for me. And so I need mood lighting. I need the right temperature in the room. I need the room to be clear, you know, no clutter, no chaos, none of that, because there's enough chaos going on up here. I need the scent to be right. I need a warm drink. And this is not just because I'm particular or picky. This is just to put me in the mood to want to be productive, because that is the thing. The desire 95% of the times is just not there, even for things that I want to be doing.
That's the part right there that's like wild to struggle with, because it's like, it's not that I want to so bad to do this thing, but my brain is like, no.
And a lot of the times it's because you're not getting that instant hit of serotonin or dopamine that your brain needs. I will say this, social media for neurodivergent people really screwed us because it gave us a way to get those really quick hits of serotonin without doing any work. You just have to move your finger across the screen. Now it's gotten so bad to the point where I was telling Nick this the other day. I don't know if I told you this, but
I think
I don't even stay for a whole video sometimes. And I want to watch the video. And sometimes I'll scroll past it and I'll be like, wait, no. And I'll scroll back and I'll force myself to sit there. My brain's attention span is already pretty bad. And I think social media and doom scrolling has made it 10 times worse. If you're unmedicated, I'm sure if you're medicated, my nephew has diagnosed ADHD. He recently got on medication and it has changed his world. He's like, I wish I would have done this sooner. He's in high school. He's like, I wish I would have done this in middle school. He's like, I just didn't know what normal felt like. He's 17. And that's what came out of his mouth, that he didn't know what normal felt like. And so it makes me excited to go on my own journey of like, yeah, put me on medication. I want to publish a book one day, damn it.
Give it to me, for the love of God.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah, it's interesting because for so long, I remember wearing almost like a badge of honor, the pro-procrastinator badge, because I just thought I would just procrastinate. Oh my God. Not realizing it wasn't me being just cute or lazy. It was that I was literally fighting with my own brain. And like you were saying, externally, it's funny how I was like, am I being high maintenance for so long? I was thinking like, you know, people judging you, especially me that I've been online visually. I've been live streaming and doing different things. People seeing sometimes my atmosphere and the things I have and assuming things about me. And it was interesting coming to terms now with the reason I have all this shit that seems all like extra and unnecessary or whatever. Now realizing it's because I need that atmosphere that's going to trigger the dopamine. I mean, thankfully, literally to the point that Heather gifted me a desk makeover. And it's amazing because I didn't even put together how much she understood, how much I needed that. I don't think I even realized how much I needed that, because especially as someone with chronic conditions, I don't get out of the house much. So this is my space that I live in. I mean, anybody probably struggles with this who's a creative, but especially if you're not neurotypical, you need your atmosphere to shift. You need things to change. You need to kind of also like shift your environment every so often, or else you'll get stagnant and then you really fall into that.
Girl.
Ooh.
I have 2 desks. I have a standing desk and then I have a regular desk. I have multiple areas in my library where I can be. I can be sitting down here in my comfy chair. I can be at that desk. I can be in the standing desk. I plan on getting a walking pad for the standing desk. Because again, I'm trying to engage different parts of my brain so that I can actually focus. And it's true. I was even looking at office chairs and looking at the viral ADHD chair where you can change your position of how you're sitting, because to be sitting at a desk for long periods of time is literally my worst nightmare, in the sense that, like, I avoided office jobs my whole life to avoid having to be, like you said, stagnant and in one place doing tedious work over and over again. That's why even though service industry jobs suck and people treat you like absolute garbage, at least you're moving and you're doing different things and you're jumping from here to there to there.
Yeah.
And that's why it was very easy for me to engage with those types of jobs, because the activities were always changing. Even though technically, like for example, when I worked at Starbucks, I'm serving coffee. But I'm not just serving coffee. I am like taking orders. I am doing dishes in the back. I'm filling out a form to get more supplies. I'm telling this person, go on your break, designating things to different people. I'm stocking supplies. It's always changing throughout the day, even if every day is similar.
Exactly. I was a paint instructor at those like paint and wine studios that you would go for a couple hours, drink some wine while an instructor teaches you how to paint a certain painting that you chose to do that night. And I did that for like 3 years at 2 separate studios, and I loved it. The only reason I struggled sometimes was because of my chronic pain issues, but mentally, like the fact that I was up and I was walking around to each, person and guiding them and teaching them. And while they're doing one thing, I have to go clean the brushes, empty the cups, prep for the next class, redo the easels. But then it's interesting because for my brain, it's the constant shift, change, and activity, but there's still a structure to it. So for me, there was a set structure to prepare for a class, do the class, and then the post-class cleanup. But it still felt different because you have a different group every 2 hours. You have a different painting you're teaching because it's never the same painting if I do multiple classes that day. And it's different dynamics, different personalities. Literally, even something that probably a neurotypical person wouldn't even understand or appreciate is that each class also had a different set of paint colors. So all of these things, your brain, like literally...
It matters.
It matters. It does something to your neurodivergent brain to have those shifts and changes, and it stimulates activity and like literally fires in your brain electrical little circuits and currents that was very fruitful, and I loved it. And sadly the studios obviously went out of business after the pandemic and then blah blah blah, but it's one of those things that even here on my desk, because I'm stuck sitting at this desk majority of the day, in my mind, again, thinking a neurotypical person probably thinks I'm so high maintenance, because what you guys can't see is I have a rolling stool that I have one leg up on. I have also on the floor one of those little pillow stumps that I can also rest my legs on. So I am constantly shifting my positioning. Like I'm about to raise my other leg and now rest it up there too. And all of these things, you're never still, and you have to accommodate these things. And again, to the outside neurotypical person, it just seems like high maintenance fluff that you're adding that is unnecessary or that is extra. But I've really now understand and come to terms that no, I need these things in order to focus and function, or else I'm going to go crazy.
And even the things that are not practical. So let's go back to what you were talking about of the desk makeover. So when I did my library, I realized how important aesthetic is. Like to have something visually inspiring and beautiful, and to have a beautiful, enchanting environment that makes you want to be in there. And then when you're in there, it makes you want to do something with your time. I think that is highly underrated. And thankfully, we're now getting into a lot of trends that are really just beautiful for neurodivergent people, like the cozy aesthetic living, the cottage core. Because then you can do up all you want and then say this to anybody who has a problem with it. Because whether or not you even have a valid reason other than it's pretty, I want it up on my wall, that's all that you need. But also like having multiple areas that you can be in, because sometimes you'll be in your bed and you'll be working on things. Sometimes you'll be at your desk and working on things. It's
for those watching, sneak peek, I have that can be lifted and rolled in, so I have a little like makeshift desk at my bed.
Exactly. So it's really important to have multiple spaces for yourself being a neurodivergent person. You mentioned the stool that you have. That is pretty much the basis of an ADHD office chair. They have an extra stool that connects to the base of the office chair that can move around with you. So you can sit cross-legged, or you can sit with your knees up, which is something that I personally love to do, and still be comfortable and not be giving yourself back pain in the process. These are all things that absolutely matter, because if you don't have those things, you can just literally sit there and stare at whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing, literally fighting with yourself. Like in your brain, it sounds like, just do it. Just do the damn thing. Just do it now. It's not that bad. And mind you, this is with everything. I have to do this with brushing my teeth, taking a shower.
Oh my gosh.
Everything. I was talking to my husband about this. He often will ask me, so what are you going to do for your Heather night? Because we have separate nights where we do like our own thing. Or what do you want to do today? And I'm like, please don't ask me that question. Because I don't function that way. I don't have a plan when I wake up in the morning about what my day is going to look like. Yes, I try to have some type of structure, but not too rigid, because I know that I'm not the type of person that keeps to a good routine. It's not for me. At least not medicated. Like once
our
I'm medicated,
brains rebel. Our brains will rebel against it.
I have never been able to keep a routine longer than 2 weeks. And then it's one little, like we go on a trip and it's out the window. Like one little thing that causes deviation and all of it goes out the window. And then you have to like jump on the bandwagon again. At least now in this big age that I've gotten to the point where I don't riddle myself with shame and guilt for not doing a routine. I just go, I'm going to do it tomorrow. When I don't shame myself for it, I will pick it back up again. But the more that I shame myself for it, the longer it will be before I pick that routine back up again. Yeah. And I had to take things like lazy out of my vocabulary.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you're not being lazy. You're in executive dysfunction. You're in task paralysis. And it's not easy. I am my worst critic. We both are. So being gentle with yourself, giving yourself grace, and giving yourself what you need. If you need a stool that moves around with you, if you need, a certain type of music, or if you need another person up on your screen doing a task with you, body doubling. If you need a warm drink because it puts you in a mood to be like, okay, I got my drink, I got my this, I got my that. The scent is right. The lighting is right. Like I can do this. Desiree and I are writers. Imagine how hard it is to sit in front of a screen doing the same thing for hours at a time. You don't really get to like go here, there, and everywhere. I think what worked for us with those types of jobs that we talked about before is that we're so busy, our brain doesn't have time to go, hey, you don't want to do that. You just want to sit down and scroll on your phone. Like, don't do that, blah, 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 because you're so busy. Jumping from here, there, and everywhere. It's like my brain didn't have a moment. It's like it quieted down because it didn't have a moment to be like, you know what you really want to be doing? You just really want to go into bed and never get up again.
Yep. Why show up tomorrow to work?
No, totally.
Stay and read.
And the craziest thing about this is what I tried to explain to Nick about asking me what I want to do. Is that I need somebody to offer me a suggestion. I realize that I do things based off of how I feel. If it doesn't feel right, if my brain is like, I don't want to be doing that, even if it's an activity that I do like, I cannot bring myself to do it. Sometimes.
And there's no logical reason.
No, it's just, it does not feel right. Sometimes, rarely, but sometimes I can push through that. And then in the midst of doing it, I'm like, oh, I really enjoy this. That's the crazy part, is that if you actually can get yourself to do the thing that you want to do, you will enjoy it. But it's getting there. That's the problem.
Let me give you an example that is going to sound insane to someone who's not neurodivergent. I think we gushed on a previous episode for a split second how much we adored the Heated Rivalry series. Oh. Explain to me why I have wanted to rewatch the season. It's been over a month, 2 months, and it's not because I don't want to. I want to with every fiber of my being. And I know once I start, I will love it and enjoy it and think, why didn't I do this sooner? My brain's like, we're not pressing the button. And I'm like, just press the fucking button. You want to press the button. I don't want to press the button. Yes, you want to press the button. My brain's like, we're not going to press the button. Why? Because I don't want to. It makes guys, I can't even express how much it doesn't make any logical sense. Why I'm not rewatching this show that I adored with every fiber of my being, that I think was brilliant, that brought me so much great emotional dopamine and happiness. Why won't I fucking rewatch it?
It's so... Because then on the flip side, we're just airing out our frustrations about it. I have the same issue because I adored Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I saw it in theaters. I wept at the end. Frankenstein is my favorite book of all time. Mary Shelley, love you. I have not rewatched that, even though I have Netflix and it's literally on Netflix for free. Not for free because we pay for Netflix, but you know what I mean.
It's available anytime.
Rewatched it. Yeah. But I will put Jurassic Park on 5 million times. I will put Golden Girls on 5 million times. You know how many times I've watched Twister? 20 times at least. Why? I don't know. I don't know if it's because it's nostalgia. The truth of the matter is that I can really like something, but that doesn't mean it becomes a comfort for me. Frankenstein, visually, it was a beautiful film. I really loved what Del Toro did with the entire story, how it portrayed Victor as a true monster. Stunning. But it's not a comfort film. It's not something that I can put on and just get that instant hit of dopamine and serotonin. Heated Rivalry, amazing. You told me episodes 3 and 6 are your favorite episodes. Maybe if you put episode 3 on instead of episode 1.
Yeah, honestly,
you'd watch it.
And that's something I've tried to tell myself, to at least just watch episode 3. You adore episode 3.
Yeah.
Why? I don't understand. But it's funny that you mentioned about the nostalgia stuff, because on a slightly different variation, I find myself doing that, but almost triggering something in my ADHD brain, because I'm not just rewatching comfort stuff. I'm watching people reacting to my comfort stuff for the first time.
Okay.
And that's almost adding an extra something to my comfort thing with a little something new, which is this person's first time reaction. And then the enjoyment of, especially when they're reacting the way you want them to react to the thing that you love to watch. That's what I end up doing on YouTube instead of watching something that's newer that I still want to watch. But for
it's
some
crazy
reason,
because Nick will be like, oh, I want to rewatch this movie. And I'm like, you go for it, baby. He's like, but I thought you liked it. I'm like, I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. But understand, I'm always moving to the next thing. And it's weird because with ADHD, you become a collector of a lot of things. And maybe a little autism in there. A collector of hobbies and things like that. So I'm always moving from one thing to the next. But then there are certain things that I'm staple. If I go to a restaurant, I always get the same meal. Once I find something I like, I don't deviate. I don't know why. The few times that I have, I wish I hadn't. And so when I find something I like, that's it. That's what I will eat at that restaurant until the day I die.
Even if I technically will play with the idea, I would like to try something new, but my brain's like, but it's not worth the risk. So we're doing what we know we like. It's funny looking back at all the things that I thought were just random quirks, quote unquote, like
Yeah.
being a creature of habit, like being a procrastinator, like all of these things that at this point, being clumsy. There's so much I'm still discovering even about myself in regards to various neurodivergent things. But
Mhm.
apparently I did not know that with ADHD, sometimes our brains doesn't know how to factor the distance of certain things. So that's why you either bump into things or you have to swerve
Oh,
out of
like
like
depth
the
perception?
yes.
Yeah.
And then why like your shirt or pants are always getting caught on drawers or doorways or things that I was like, I thought that was just me being clumsy or
That
just
happens to
weird.
Nick, because Nick has ADHD as well, but he has the very typical, like, fidgety, can't sit still, is always fidgeting, brain racing, forgets things, starts tasks, and then ends up doing something else. Very, like, all the markers he hits. His depth perception sometimes, I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, did you not see that? I don't have that issue, but he does, and it's always so funny. I just chalked it up to him being tall. He's
Yeah.
over 6 feet, so I was like, okay. He just doesn't get how long his limbs are.
I'm 5'5", so nope, that's not it.
No, he's always knocking into shit.
And it's hilarious because I wish I could put this visually in a way that would be as satisfying, but it won't be. The video that I saw was just a bunch of people expressing how their depth perception was just so off as someone with ADHD that if this is a wall, they're walking and they have to swerve. So their bodies do this almost like curve to
Yeah, I
make
know
up
what you mean.
for almost running into it. And I'm like, oh my God, I do that. And I laugh because I had a coworker once, because I am plus size and I've always struggled with that because of PCOS and other various issues. And she was just like, you know, for someone your size, you do moves that I wouldn't expect you to do.
ADHD.
And back then I was like, well, maybe it was because I was a dancer when I was younger. But no, now I realize, because again, it's just hilarious how the brain works. But
Yeah.
going back to like obstacles and external
Yeah.
obstacles when it comes to neurodivergence and creativity, if you are a creative person, you know that creative people, period, have a different set of neuropaths.
Yeah.
Period. At this point, I feel like almost every creative person who lives slightly tormented has to have some version of neurodivergence. That's my theory. That's not a fact. The brain for a creative person works so differently. And there's already that struggle of capturing the inspiration, the muse, the motivation, and sticking to something and seeing it to fruition. That's already a struggle for any creative. Add on the neurodivergent aspect to it, and
yeah.
oh my goodness.
Yeah. Because you're not just talking about finding the motivation to start something. Now find the motivation to start it with executive dysfunction and task paralysis. Then on top of that, if you're not immediately a connoisseur of whatever it is that you're pursuing, you don't get that instant serotonin and dopamine from it.
Oh my
Then it becomes impossible to ever see it through or finish it because you become immediately hypercritical of yourself. And if you're not good at it, you're not getting that serotonin, that dopamine. And if you don't get that, then you don't want to finish it.
Or come back to it because your
Yeah.
brain is already fearing the failure that is imminent from the first time that you didn't do it perfectly.
Yeah. And then think about wanting to create an environment, because I think all creatives want to create a beautiful environment for themselves to create. But then you kind of need it as a neurodivergent person. And then on top of that, you also need an environment that is conducive to hyperfocus, which is something that
That's the part.
ADHD, it's known for hyperfixation. I've seen it with my husband. I think it manifests differently in women than it does in men. Because literally I will be like, honey, we don't need to be doing that right now. We need to be doing this. And he cannot deviate once he's like locked in. I have an issue where I can lock in, but any little distraction, holy shit. Please don't come talk to me. What is that? Who's talking? I can hear whose footsteps are those? Like, my brain will connect to any little distraction that is happening in my environment. I have to have total silence unless I'm playing music or I have a video going, but that's purposeful. But anything that's outside of that, anything that I didn't initiate that is going on, overstimulated, instantly overstimulated. That's what ends up happening to me a lot, is that overstimulation. And then my brain goes into shutdown mode because I'm overstimulated. And so then I can't do it. Then I turn to the things that I know are going to bring comfort, which is doom scrolling or just like watching things in general, which doesn't really help with the whole issue of following through with things. Again, it's not just the distraction, but if there's a snag in the road, if there's an obstacle to something that you should just find a way to overcome it, I'm like, oh, there's a boulder in the road. I can go to the left, I can go to the right, I can even walk over the boulder. And I go, there's a boulder in the road. Time to turn back. Like, and why?
And the funny thing is that, oh, there's a boulder in the road, but you're far enough thinking it's a boulder. It's a pebble. It's a fucking pebble. But no, it looked like a boulder from back here. Oh, okay. I'm done.
Yeah. That's true. And then it's like, if there is an obstacle and your brain can't find the solution immediately to it.
Yes, that's it.
Look, I have an appointment with the doctor, and one of the questions I was asked in the assessment was, if a task requires too much thought, do you find yourself not being able to start that all the fucking time? All the time. And it's not a conscious thing. You're not consciously thinking about how much brain energy you're going to exert. But just the idea of it seems so exhausting to your brain that it just was like, we're not doing it.
And I think that's the key that like maybe neurotypicals can't understand. On the outside, afterward, it's easy to assess these realities of how our brain works. It is never in the moment. It's all subconsciously experienced. Like none of it is something that in that moment we're pinpointing and we're like, this is it. This is what's happening. This is the breakdown. Never. we can look from like a bird's eye view after the fact and pinpoint all these things, and then again a neurotypical person would go, okay, well now you assessed it, you understand it, so next time be prepared. No, that's not how that's gonna work. we're gonna go through the same process each and every time. And what was that other point that while you were talking I was like, I will make it after, but then I wanted to make this one first.
This is a perfect example of ADHD. Happens all the time. This is why ADHD people are the worst interrupters. Because we know if we don't say it in that specific moment, it's gone. It's gone forever. Sometimes No, it's true. Sometimes Nick will say something and I'll be like,
itching. Please let me just...
Or he'll interrupt what I was saying, and then when I get back to what I was saying, I'm like, I forgot.
And it's hard because you don't want to be that person. It's not that what I have to say is more important than yours and I have to interrupt you. It's that if I don't say it at this moment, again, another thing I thought was just a quirk, calling myself Dory as a joke for years. And a lot of my memory loss is both connected to ADHD and PCOS. And so much of it, I'm like, it will literally be gone from existence. It will evaporate in the ether if I give it more than 2 minutes without spewing it.
You'll try to jog your memory. You'll be like, oh, I was saying this while you were saying that. And sometimes if you're really lucky on rare occasions, it'll come back to you. Other times it's gone forever. There's not even an inkling of what it was left in your brain.
I still don't remember what my main point was. And I held that point in my head for a while she was talking, because I'm also trying to train myself. Don't interrupt every time. Don't interrupt. Just remember the point so that when she has a pause, then insert it. What was it? I literally don't remember.
If you've ever watched our podcast, you know that we interrupt each other all the time. Neither one of us ever gets offended. It's never anything of like, what I have to say is more important. We just understand the urgency in the moment, because for whatever reason you feel like, but it's so good. It's such a good point. But really, I had to tell myself, if you forget, it's okay.
Yeah.
If you forget, you forget. Move on with your life, because it's probably worse to constantly be interrupting, because I do that to Nick. And there are times where I can tell I've done it too much. Because he just is like, he'll do this. This is what he does. He goes,
you're like, I love you.
I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's not my, and I feel comfortable with him too.
Exactly. I laugh because I had an assessment with a new psychiatrist who's going to help me potentially get ADHD medication. So I was laughing because we had like a 2-hour assessment. I'm very grateful she took that time. It was a virtual call, and she really like asked every possible question, and we went through a lot of information. And I was laughing because obviously I had a lot to say, and there was a point where she was just like, do you interrupt a lot normally? And I was like, because I interrupted her so many times.
It is a marker. It is a true marker, especially I think in women specifically, because
our brains are
much
already naturally
more talkers. That didn't sound like it even made sense, but we're going to go with it. We're already big talkers compared to men. So even more so. And that's,
guys, there's so much we cut out when we edit that you guys don't see because of our ADHD.
Yeah, because then my brain went to this other point about how Nick, he always tells me I talk a lot, but here's the thing. I talk in tangents, right? This is the perfect kind of job for me because I get to go on rants, right?
Mm-hmm.
What he doesn't realize how his ADHD manifests is that he talks all the time. He doesn't go on grand speeches, but he's constantly talking.
Oh, interesting. It's one of those things that people really, until recently, and which is why women weren't getting diagnosed with ADHD, is because so much of science and the medical world didn't understand how vastly different the female brain and the male brain are. And how we process, how we socialize, how we communicate, we express. It's hilarious just looking at what are the clear markers that have been known for 30 plus years of ADHD, which is more common with the male brain. And I think it's probably because as females, we already are carrying the reputation of being talkers and dramatic and all these things. So it was like, no, that's just a woman being a woman. No. There was more going on that y'all weren't paying attention to, but just assuming it was a thing that women do, because men normally are not as expressive or talkative or hyperactive.
Unless they're my husband.
And a lot of men out there, but again, stupid stereotypes.
Well, and he does have ADHD, so it does play a factor. Because I remember asking him like early on in a relationship, I was like, are you uncomfortable with silence? Because I genuinely thought that he was just trying to fill the silence because it made him uncomfortable. He's like, no, I'm comfortable with it. And I thought in my head, are you though? Because you never let silence like just sit there. I talk a lot in the sense that I can go on for a while if I'm passionate about a subject, but I also have moments where I'm just not talking at all for long periods of time. I'm contemplative, especially if I'm driving in a car or I'm a passenger in a car. I like, and he's over here, magic cards, action figures, I'm like, honey, just give me 2 minutes. The other day I was putting makeup on and I was just watching a vlog of somebody, just putting my makeup on. He comes in, doesn't even care the video's going, just immediately starts in on a conversation, which is something that he does a lot where I'm like, honey, I was doing something already. And I said, honey, can I just finish my makeup? Can I just have a moment, please? 'Cause I love you. But you come right in. And the thing is like, he'll talk about how when he has meetings, he's always exhausted, but you're still doing this. If you're exhausted, why isn't there more of this?
The thing, it's funny because like my mom, bless her, she's extroverted. She's a businesswoman. Her brain is constantly go, go, go. Yeah. She can be social also 24/7. And so it's funny because this morning that happened. I'm putting my makeup. I have a video. I am also not awake that long. And I need like 2 hours before I am
functioning
human. And So I had just woken up maybe 10 minutes ago and I'm sitting here trying to do my makeup. I have a video on. She comes in. She's like, I need you to, can you do this for me? Can you scan this real quick for me? And can you do that? And then and I was just like,
Overstimulation.
It is. It
It's
was
overstimulation.
And my brain at that moment needed to just be a zombie. Like I could not think and do. I was like, I'm about to be social. And granted, it's with my best friend, so it's not hard, but I'm going to have to be on for the next like 4 hours. So I was like, I need this 1 hour. Give me this 1 hour to not speak, communicate, interact.
Yeah. With my husband, it's like kicking a bunny. You just feel so bad to just be like, can I just get a minute? I know you're super excited about this thing, but you're super excited about a lot of things. Like it's just, I need a minute. Because I get overstimulated.
Mm-hmm.
I have a thing when it comes to makeup. I'm not particularly great at makeup. So like I need concentration when I'm doing certain things. This counts because it's part of creativity. Makeup is creative expression.
It is.
Eyeliner and my eyebrows, because I have a thing about eyebrows and making them look as natural as possible. And so I need concentration. And somebody's in my ear, and if one thing goes wrong, have you ever heard of ADHD rage? It's a real thing. My nephew had that issue, the overstimulation of doing something, and then something went wrong. He would like act out in anger. I have that a little bit. I don't punch walls or anything, but I'll be like, damn it, fuck this whole day. Like whole day is ruined. Lately, I've been getting really good at it because the other day it was like one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. And it's so freaking hard. So hard to just rally and not lose your shit over it. It's just like minor inconveniences. But once they've been piled on, or if you're already feeling overstimulated and then something happens, you might think that that's a very extreme response to that. But what people don't realize is that you were already here. It was just that one little thing that put you over the edge where you're just, it's like Hercules, where he's like, Toyo, stand still. And then like he keeps talking and then he accidentally bumps him and then he's like, nah, like this. That's exactly what ADHD rage looks like. That's perfect scene in Hercules is the moment.
That's so interesting because for me, my brain will get the rage, but not as much externally. I shut down. I will be cranky, so I'm like, please don't talk to me so that I don't end up regretting that I'm going to lash out at you. So I feel the bubbling, but I then go into, which is probably me trying to protect myself from going there.
Yeah.
My mind body will just quit and shut down and be done and just be like, don't.
No, I've experienced it with you before where like we're getting ready to go somewhere and nothing is working. And so you're just like, I just want to stay in tonight. And when we were younger, that used to bum me out. But now I totally understand where I was like, am I in my luteal phase right now? Because that is also playing a factor. And I have ADHD on top of that. Like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I look like a Gila monster in the mirror. Like I'm having dysmorphia right now when it comes to the way that I look because I'm in my luteal phase. And then on top of that, I'm getting irritated about things that normally I have more patience for. Everything is heightened, by all of these external things. As a woman, we also have to deal with hormone fluctuations throughout our cycle that can aggravate some of the things that being neurodivergent already aggravates. So then you're like aggravated on top of aggravated. No wonder you just want to crawl under your covers and just like, I'm not here. I don't exist.
Nothing else exists outside of my blanket bubble.
Yeah, let me just have my little comfort. And that's why sometimes I do allow myself to do it, to just like doom scroll or go to something that I know brings comfort to me. Because I'm like, what would I rather happen? A total and complete shutdown for like days. Or I just give myself a couple of hours to do something that I know that I'm going to enjoy and then get back to the thing that I should be doing.
Which is what my therapist has even taught me, because not understanding my own mind, there were seasons in my life where I did do the whole shut down, disappear. I mean, Heather wouldn't hear from me for weeks sometimes because I just like Back then, I didn't know how to explain it to people. I felt ashamed about it, but I was just too overstimulated to deal with anything, with life. And the only thing I could do was just rot in bed and ignore the world, really, for a long, extended period of time. And it was unhealthy long term. So my therapist has really helped me to understand that that's the key right there. Let yourself have what you need. It's just a matter of balancing it so that you don't live in that perpetual state of just shutdown and numbness, but you give yourself the kind of emotional reset, and your nervous system gets a reset as well, so that you can be like, okay, I gave myself the quiet that my brain needed. And quiet isn't always literal quiet. It's just the brain, all the things going on needed to get quieted down. Even if I'm watching something, listening to something, whatever, it's what works for me to quiet those thoughts. And once I do that, it's like, okay, I can rejoin the world slowly. And gently, because I also have an all or nothing issue because of my neurodivergence. So it's like, I have spoons today, so let's do all the things before my spoons drop and my body gives. But then that's not good, because if anything, I'm perpetuating a longer shutdown and crash later. It's a whole game of negotiation with yourself, with your body, with your brain, and it's exhausting. I mean, if you're listening and you are neurotypical and all of that sounded exhausting, imagine living that 24/7.
I feel like people who are neurodivergent are super black and white, and that was something that I had to kind of like not overcome, but mature,
come to terms with, kind of.
Well, no, mature in the sense that I had to realize that not everything is black and white, that there are gray areas, and learn to appreciate what those gray areas were. There are still all or nothing moments for me. And this is something that I've heard that other people with ADHD have. Like, if I have an appointment that day, that's all that I can do that day, is have that appointment. And maybe after the appointment is done, I might get to something else.
It's like my day is shut down. I am not physically or mentally capable of doing anything else until that appointment. If it's at 3 p.m. and you've been up since 8, the day is shot until that appointment happens. And again, if this is something you don't experience, it's really hard to explain it. But it's kind of like that is all you are capable of focusing on, mentally preparing for, physically preparing for. Also, your brain is almost trying to go, don't do anything else that may conflict with this. So in preparation, just for safety purposes, just stay in this one state so that you can guarantee nothing's gonna fuck with this, and it'll happen the way you think it's gonna happen, and hope it's gonna happen. Like, it's such a wild reality.
This is why I try to, again, working with it, I try to make my appointments early, but not too early, because I'm not a functioning morning person. So I will make my appointment for like 11 o'clock, which for me is a good time. That way, my whole day is not screwed. Then I don't feel guilty about not doing anything before 11 a.m., but like getting up, having breakfast, having my matcha, and then like getting ready. Because my brain will go, you don't want to start that, because then it's going to get interrupted, because then you're going to have to stop what you're doing to get to your appointment. And then here's the other kicker, and also why I need to make my appointments early. If my appointments are late in the day, or if I start something, what appointment? Did I have an appointment? That appointment is gone. That appointment is gone. Forgot it. Will remember later on when I'm doing something else. I was supposed to go to that appointment. And then my husband, because of his ADHD, he sets reminders for everything, which now I have begun to do, but it still doesn't work for me the same way that it works for him. One thing I wanted to say earlier, when a task is daunting in that you feel like it's going to take a lot of thought, and yes, it is subconscious, but what I've tried to train my brain to do is to break it up into tiny tasks. So it's like, if I have to do laundry, I won't do all of the laundry. I will do one thing of laundry. Here's the white clothes. I will do the white clothes, because if I end up doing something else, I will forget that I started laundry, and then that laundry may be sitting in the washer for like an hour or two. Luckily, it doesn't end up stinking, and then I put it in the dryer, and then if it's in the dryer, baby, I ain't touching that till tomorrow. If you're lucky. Because what am I going to do? Sit there for 30 minutes watching the washer? No, I'm going to go on with my day.
Yep.
And sometimes it gets forgotten because that is how ADHD brain works. So I break it up into small tasks because then likely I can't get to all the laundry because of the way that my brain works. So if I just do one, I can stomach that. If I try to do all of it, I will do none of it because it's too much for me.
It's too overwhelming to even just think about doing the full task of it. If you guys want, let us know. Maybe we can do a separate episode about tips and ideas or things that we are experimenting with as neurodivergent creatives who are trying to get shit done and how we are attempting to do that. Today, I think we put a big emphasis on setting an environment. That's a big one. That stimulation, that need to create the right space and setting and mood and feel and scent, get all the senses going. And they all have to line up in the right way. It's a lot, guys. It all has to align in the right way in order to just do sometimes simple tasks. And we're still trying to figure it out because it's an ever-going process. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, we may be diagnosed with quote unquote the same thing, but clearly it's different. Our brains are different. And the thing is that every human body truly is unique. Even countless people with the same diagnosis don't experience the same things. And the medical system is still also trying to figure it out because they want to put us in a clean box. But when it comes to anything with behavioral health, none of it can be put in a clean box. No. You can't treat an umbrella of diagnosis the same way for every person.
Everybody's different. Every brain is different. Well, we could go on and on about this subject.
And we have.
And we have. So, friends, we would like to hear from you guys, especially our neurospicy people, because there is just a point of relation there. What are some of the obstacles that you face, especially if you are a creative as well? And how have you come to overcome it? Because I'm always looking for tips. Some things I've heard from people with ADHD have worked for me. Others, it has not. So I'm always open to hearing new ideas. And then for our neurotypical people, please let us know what you thought about this. And let us know if you have a partner or a friend or somebody that you're like, maybe they are. And now I understand them better. And hopefully this has helped you to get into a little bit of the mindset of what it's like to be neurodivergent. And I don't know if we've given any new information because a lot of people talk about this on the internet. But just even seeing our interaction, the live version of ADHD, maybe will help you understand what it's like because we're not going to be editing all of this out. So you'll get to see it.
What we typically put out, we're literally purposely for this episode.
Yeah,
because it serves as a perfect example.
So with that said, Desiree, take it away.
So friends, please, if you're following us on social media, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're listening to us on a podcast platform, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, do all of the internet things. Be sure to comment. You can now comment not just on YouTube, but a lot of the podcast platforms also allow you to leave comments now there. And also, friends, can you do us a favor? Could you leave us a review wherever you're listening to this on a podcast platform? If you could either review the episode or the show as a whole, that would be fantastic because that tremendously helps us with the algorithm. Hopefully it helps people who would also like this content to find us and we can continue growing this ever-loving community. So friends, thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with us, and we will see you again next week.
Bye.